Hello friends, I hope you are all doing well. In my previous video I show how to create the group policy in Active Directory with an explanation of user policy and computer policy. If anyone wants to explore, please check the link in the description and watch it. In this video we will see more about the group policy. Very faster we will see about how to create the policy for blocking credential manager, registry block policy, and some features we will see like inheritance, enforce policy, and WMI filter. This WMI filter is specially used for exclude the policy from the domain controller. And finally, we will see backup and restore. Let's see. So I'm giving a command gpmc.msc to open the group policy from the domain controller. And here I can see several OUs. I'm expanding the HROU. I can see already two policies have in HROU. These are computer policy and user policy already explained on the previous video. Now I am creating one more policy called credential manager block. Press OK. Right click, edit. Here we need to go policy. This is computer policy. So I'm just expanding the computer policy now. Security, settings, and from here you can go local policy, security options. Here you can find network access, do not allow storage of password and credential for network authentication. So this option I'm going to enable it. See here the explanation. You can able to see about this policy, what is the action it will be happen when it enable. And see here the note, when the configuration this security settings change will not take effect until you restart the Windows, which means after apply this one to the computer policy, the computer should restart. In production, for this kind of policy you can notify the user or you have to schedule the restart to take effect. So I'm enabling the policy, apply, OK. So I have enabled the credential manager block. I'm opening now dsa.msc database. Here, see here that the HR computers will apply the credential manager policy. So this PC1, so I'm going to the PC1. I'm restarting the PC1 because the credential manager block will take effect after the restart the system. So now we are restarting the PC1 because that PC1 is located on the HR OU. So let me wait for the PC up. Now I'm logged into the system. And try to open the credential manager. It's getting blocked. Now I am going back to the DC. Next, we're going to create registry block policy. Before we create registry block policy, I will show one more option called link enabled. In the production, the system engineer will create the policy. Sometimes the unknown issue will become on the production. So they want to verify that because of the new policy causing that issue, they will disable this link enable policy instead of deleting. By doing this link enable disable, the policy will be grayed out. So by doing this, the policy will doesn't works. If I do a GB update post, policy updated. Now we will try to open control panel. See, I managed to open because this is like a temporarily disabled. Instead of deleting, they will disable. Okay, after they do this disable, they will check the issue occurred or not. It's kind of in the terminology they will say that it's a rollback. So they usually they never delete whatever they create. Instead of deleting, they will disable the link enable. So no, now you can understand this option why they have the link enable. So temporarily we can disable the policy from the production. So I'm enabling back. We will test, close the control panel and GB update. So policy has been updated. Now I open the control panel. So it's disabled. So now you can understand why we have the option link enable have. So we can temporarily disabling by uncheck this link enable. Now enabled back, and I'm going to create registry policy under the domain reg edit block policy. You can give any name that it's just for your identification. Press OK, and now I'm going to edit this policy. This is user policy. So I'm going to expand the user policy. I'm keep repeating that we have a more than 5,000 policy, computer policy and user policy. So you can able to see from the Microsoft website and blogs we have in the internet. You have to Google it and check. So what are the policy will applicable for the user will be something different from the control computer policy. So this registry block is present in the user configuration. So system prevent access to registry editing tool. I'm enabling this policy. See here, if you enable this policy, the settings and the user tries to start the Ridge edit, the message appears explaining that the policy settings prevent the action. So, which means that it 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 will give a error message to the user who trying to log in from the Ridge edit. So apply, OK, and close. So now I created the Ridge edit policy, which means the registry block policy. So it will be block for entire domain. This applicable for entire domain, which means this credential manager block only applicable for the HROU. But this registry block policy I have created under the domain, then it will be applicable for all the OUs. See here, if I click the HR and go to group policy inheritance, and you can able to see some policies show the location HR, some policies shows the domain name, which means this three policies comes from the domain. This is called inheritance. So now we will test the registry block policy gp update / post. So this is the inheritance. So now after this test, I will show few options how the inheritance works. So now I'm going to open Ridge edit. So this is disabled. So the policy working fine. So I'm going back. This register edit, I don't want HR department to applicable, which means that I don't want the registry block policy and default domain policy, USB block policy not applicable for the HR department. Then you have to right click block inheritance. By doing this, you will get some exclamation mark on the OU, and also you can see on the right hand side panel the three policy from the location default is disabled, which means it's not able to see from the right side panel. So now what are the computers policy and user policy in the HR from the domain will not applicable for this PC and this user. Example, now the register policy works fine in the PC1. Now I blocked the inheritance. Let's see how it works. So any changes on the group policy level, you have to restart or you have to GB update to take effect. Now I am opening the Ridge edit. I managed to open the Ridge edit because I blocked the inheritance. Now I'm going to uncheck. So all the policies from the domain comes to the HR policy. Now I will GB update. and check Ridge edit. It's blocked because I just allowed inheritance for this OU. Now you can understand the inheritance option why we have. Now I'm going to right click on this Ridge edit block policy, enforce. By doing this enforce, in this policy I can see that one lock symbol have after I enabling the enforce. This meaning if I am doing the block inheritance, it never remove the Ridge edit policy for the HR. Last time when we do the inheritance policy, all the default domain policies disabled from this HROU, but now the registry block policy still able to see because of enforced. Hope you have understand what is inheritance and what is enforced have in the policy. Now we will see about WMI filter. WMI filter exclude the domain policies for the domain controller. See, in the real time, whatever the policy we are creating under the domain will applicable for the end user machines, not for the domain controller. But now, whatever the policy we creating on under the domain, for example, Ridge edit policy, it also apply for the server. See here in the domain controller, I am just trying to do GP update. Post I'm trying to open Ridge edit, which means Ridge edit block policy is applying for the domain control also. It's not a good sign actually. These policies are all created for the end user machine, not for the domain controller. For that, to avoid this scenario, we will use WMI filter. So I'm right click and give new, exclude domain policy for DC. So I'm just creating name, any name you can able to give. So add query. So I'm going to show you there is a lot of customized filter for the WMI filter. So this I have taken from the internet to stop policy coming from the domain. Press OK and save. So I created WMI filter and that we will apply for the policy. So if I go back to the Ridge edit block policy and in bottom you can able to see WMI filter. So drop down and select that policy, the filter which you created and OK. So now after applying this, I'm doing GP update, goes on the DC. and check which edit I managed to open. So now you can understand what is WMI filter, how we can exclude the policies for the domain controller. And finally, we will see how to take a backup of GPO and how to restore. Now, I unfortunately deleted the Ridge Edit policy from the domain. What happened? If I delete the policy from the domain, see, I'm opening the user PC. Ridge Edit already applied here. Now I do a GP update /force and now open Ridge Edit. I managed to open because the policy deleted from the domain, but it's not permanently deleted because in below you can see the group policy object still have the registry block policy. So if I go back to the domain, right click, link a existing group policy is the option we can able to retrieve the policy from the GPO object. So the policy back ready. But okay, well, let we test this first. So it's blocked back again. Now, earlier we deleted the policy from the domain and retrieved from the group policy object. But if the policy deleted from the group policy object, then it's like a permanent delete. You cannot able to retrieve until you can recreate that policy. So that reason we will back up the GPO, and if any issue happened on the group policy object, we can restore that policy from the backup. But before we delete the registry block policy from the group policy object, we will backup it. So I'm just creating one folder in the C drive, backup GPO. Now I right click the group policy object and go to backup all and have to choose the location to browse it. C drive which we created for the backup GPO. Backup. So it's backing up the process. So it's backing the control panel block, credential manager, all the policies located in the GPO is backed successfully. Press OK and we will see from the folder. Yes, I managed to see all the policy. Now, if I delete the Ridge Edit from the group policy object, it's permanently deleted from the group policy object. You cannot able to find by link existing GPO. So this scenario, we will able to restore the policy from the backup. Manage backup, and you can see the rich edit block policy backed up on this time. So I'm pressing restore. Do you want to restore the selected backup? Yes, please. Okay. So it's succeeded. Now the register black block policy back to the GPO. Now I managed to link existing GPO to select and bring up to the domain policy. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now you can understand how to create the group policy, what are the features have in the group policy, and how to back up and restore it. Please subscribe my channel. See you all in following video. Thanks for watching.